As you may recall, it was, I believe it was December last year, we came to the board with a new proposal from Crown Hydro. And in that discussion, several items were brought up as issues that we thought should be studied or could be studied. What we're here tonight to do is just to kind of review those issues with you and then see if you have any to add to it and come to a consensus on what our next step should be.
Point of information.
Yes, Commissioner Young.
Made a motion on? I thought this was a study item.
Right, just to move it forward.
No, it's new business. It's an action item, 9.1.
No.
No, it is not. That's why I wanted to make sure.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Okay.
because we don't need
Okay,
to
we're
do
just
motions
listening.
to
Right,
your
we're just
study
listening
item.
to this
Thank you
unfinished
very
business.
much. I
Thank
didn't
you,
want to
Commissioner Young.
misunderstand.
Because we believe that we need to hire independent consultants to do the work that gets identified by the tasks that were outlined here and tasks if you have any additional ones that you'd like us to undertake. What we just determined from the last meeting was that the issues were water over the falls, maintenance of the park infrastructure, protection of historic features, is it EAW or an EIS required, and there was a value issue of whether the lease payments were represented a fair value to the park board. I also, our attorneys did a little inquiry around and put out a request kind of for some proposals and got a proposal from Emerson and Oliver Resources to do an EAW for the project. Their cost for doing the EAW is $60,000, roughly. So if you added $60,000 and say another $7,500 for an appraisal and some, another $10,000 perhaps for engineering design, you start seeing the numbers.
You said it would cost us about $60,000 to do the EAW.
Yeah, we have that in a proposal. That is the proposal that you have before you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was referring to the little sheet you gave us. What page are we on that has the cost?
Oh, the cost and schedule is right at the
Costs
back.
way in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'll wait.
Okay.
Because I gotta look at these numbers.
With regard to the water over the falls issue, when we had set the 2,000 cubic feet per second in 1984, is there some kind of a report that was based on that would give those of us who weren't here at that point an idea as to rationale behind the thinking, why that's an important number versus an unimportant number? Or
There was a big study done. It's pretty old. I think I have a copy of it actually, but it was aesthetics.
as you say here that by saying yes to Crown Hydro, the board is rescinding its prior resolution under the current proposal, that is true, and it is rescinding its rights to say no to additional users that would further reduce water flow over the falls. Are you saying that we currently have the right to say no to additional users, whoever they may be, that would further reduce water flow over the falls?
As if it's impacted by park property, yes. And we own both sides of the river.
Okay.
So I believe that we are a participant in that, yes.
But that would only, if we said yes to that, would only basically rescind our right with regard to that piece of park property, would not give up the rights that we have to whatever other controls we have of that. I mean, it's a little...
The point I'm making is that XL could come back and ask for additional water demands. That's what drove the first decision. I was told by the DNR that the Phoenix, or one of those new mills over on the river, is asking for to draw water off for power.
And currently, we have the right to say no to that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go ahead with Crown Hydro, we will give up our right to
Well,
say
I
no?
think you'd have a hard time saying no.
Because of precedent?
Precedence.
With regard to the water over the falls issue, the board has had minimum policy of the 2,000 cubic feet per second since 1994. Well, the numbers that I think we're talking about right now, if I remember correctly, are something like 300 to 500. Is that, or am I not remembering that from the study session? But nonetheless, reducing it through the off months, supposedly off months, and during the week. The developer currently is committing to summer hours, June through October, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I guess my question is, there seems like such a great disparity between what has been the park board's stated minimum negotiating position and what the developer is currently proposing. I'm curious, have we given them any reason to believe that we would move away from our stated policy, our adopted policy, or has there been something that's happened that when I have not been around that has led them to believe that we would do that?
As far as I would respond to that, we've never said that we were moving away from our adopted policy.
The long-term viability of such a project seems like it could be included in the study. I mean, if this doesn't work, that would be good to know. You know, we are, you know, how much water is coming towards the falls? What are we looking at? Are there serious problems if we have a you know, I mean, if we look at this year, without much additional snow, would this year be a loss? I mean, would there be any power generated? How do you look at the viability, and how do you run some useful numbers to try to at least guesstimate that in some professional manner? And I would include that in if we went ahead with a study, I would include that.
I do have a motion that I would like to present to the board that would move this forward, the study forward. So with that, I'll read it to you. The Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board authorizes Emmons and Oliver Resources to produce a report evaluating the feasibility of entering into a lease with Crown Hydro LLC for the construction and operation of a hydroelectric plant on MPRB land adjacent to the Mississippi River as proposed by Crown. The report shall document the issues and procedures the MPRB is required to consider before entering into the lease with Crown. MPRB staff is authorized to enter into 2 agreements. 1, a time and materials contract with Emmons and Oliver Resources not to exceed $20,000, and 2, an agreement with Crown to reimburse the MPRB for all contract payments made to Emmons and Oliver Resources, including costs incurred by MPRB staff and attorneys related to the Crown project. The staff shall not enter into the contract with Emmons and Oliver until the agreement with Crown is executed. This action by the MPRB does not obligate the MPRB to enter into the proposed lease agreement with Crown, and/or is a promise to enter into any future agreement with Crown. I would so move.
I have a point of order.
Point of order.
I'm assuming that you weren't just making that up. Do you have that in writing that we could all
I
look
do.
at it? Or did you just-
Unfortunately, I suppose we could get copies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, some other business happened while this is going on.
Somebody want to
You
sing?
know, some of us have been waiting.
It'll just take a minute. That's okay. We have a motion before us. And President Olson's been waiting while we're having the
Okay,
copies made.
Copies, it's very long.
there he is. That's who I want to talk to. Mr. Riekert, you keep referring to the 2,000 cubic feet per second. Now, I just want to make sure that people, there's a couple things. I want to make sure that people understand that this was a resolution that the Park Board passed, that we supported 2,000 cubic feet per second going over the falls, but we don't actually control how much water goes over the falls. Is that correct?
I don't believe there's another structure that we own that controls how much water goes over the falls.
So we can't guarantee that there's going to be 2,000 cubic feet per second or more going over the falls. I mean, we don't have like a big giant hose at the other end of the river up here that we're putting water in and
Should.
falls, right?
Could.
We've pumped water from the river into the lakes, but not from the lakes into the river.
Okay.
Anyway, not yet.
Wanted to clarify that. And I've heard the comment that, you know, what happens if there isn't a lot of water in the river and they won't be able to produce energy because it won't be going through the turbines. So maybe this isn't such a great thing. But there's been a lot of talk about windmills. And people say, well, we got to put up more windmills because that's a great way to produce energy. Well, the wind doesn't always blow.